Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast, brought to you by The Volume. Follow me all year long for the best content in the NFL. Make sure you subscribe. Talk to you soon. Welcome back. Year 3 of the Richard Sherman Podcast with my guy, Mitch Eisenstein, back at it again. Mitchell, how you been?
Richard, it is an absolute pleasure, my friend. New year, new you, same Mitchy Richie connection. Tell me how you've been, Rich. This is a bigger question out there. Tell me how you've been.
I've been employed. Employment is hard to find. Gainful employment is very difficult to find these days, and I found it again with Amazon. On Prime Video, people still talking about they can't find it. Like, it's right next to Netflix. The apps on your phone. You can even watch on a plane these days. People complain and then they get on the plane and now they can watch the game. Like, don't complain about it. Just get on the game. You'll still be able to catch the game. It's technology evolving. Like, go with us.
Richard, you impressed on Thursday night. It was the first time you guys were live. For those that don't know, Thursday Night Football is on Amazon Prime now. You got to go through the app. You got to click on Thursday Night Football, and there's your boy, Richard Sherman, next to Ryan Fitzpatrick and his beautiful chest hair, and our boy, Tony Gonzalez. And in the middle of that is Carissa Thompson. Richard, talk about the transition. A lot of guys hang up the cleats, call it a day, and set sail to the Caribbean. You are entering in a whole new field of sports media. Talk about what it's been like, how they've been preparing you for this moment, and how excited you are for it.
Well, first off, I wanted to ride off into the sunset but then my wife said, get out of the house and go find something to do. So then I went and found something to do. It's been great, man. I'm excited for it. It was an incredible opportunity with an incredible cast. As you just mentioned, Carissa, Fitzmagic, TG. It's so many great people. Kaylee's on there. A1 Andrew Whitworth. Can't forget Whit. It's outstanding staff, outstanding group to work with. All the people in the background. They're freaking so fantastic. It's really an all-star team, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
Richard, and on top of that, we've signed with The Volume. We're going to take this podcast to new heights. If you're new to the Richard Sherman Podcast, we're going to be doing double dipping this year. We're going to be going Sunday nights, and then we're going to have a weekly guest on Tuesdays. So we're really, really excited to bring you content twice a week here. Richard, but let's get into the season a little bit. We've made it almost all the way through training camp.
Jimmy G still or not? Oh, wait. Oh,
Jimmy,
sorry, Mitch.
I'm going to start right there. Let's start in the NFC West. Let's start with your two former teams, the Seattle Seahawks and most notably the San Francisco 49ers. Let's start right there. Let's start with Jimmy G and the quarterback situation with the 49ers.
Well, I think it is the best case scenario for everybody involved. I think it's one of those situations where somebody for the first time ever had their cake and got to eat it too. Like, what are we dealing with? And then there are people complaining saying, hey, it's so terrible for Trey Lance. But they were the same people that were sitting there like, well, what happens if Trey Lance isn't ready? What happens if he gets hurt? Then you got nobody. You're out there with somebody who's pretty good. No, you got Jimmy G, who would have been the number one backup to any other quarterback in this league, except he's a starter. He's a guy who just went to the NFC Championship last year. There's no other backup quarterback in the National Football League right now who could say that. I mean, you got a situation in Carolina where you're paying two guys over $15 million, and there's questions whether either of them can get the job done. Like, there's definitely questions on whether either of those guys can get them to a Super Bowl, but then you got people complaining about a situation where they have two guys that they believe can get them there.
Richard, you've said it. Like, he is the consummate pro. He's one of the best teammates you've ever played with. We've talked about this on and off air. This speaks to who Jimmy G is as a professional. I mean, he's done this throughout his entire career. When you signed with the 49ers, I thought you were batshit crazy. I thought you were absolutely nuts. You told me, Mitch, Jimmy G is going to win the 49ers a title. And I said, Richard, are you insane? And then what do you know? I mean, granted, you guys didn't win.
We were 7 minutes away.
But you were in the position to win it. And now the 49ers are in a what you call championship window at this moment. I think everyone and their mother is aware of that. Why not keep the guy around to hedge your bet in the event Trey fails?
Well, exactly. Why not have two engines? Hey, I got a Ferrari. And I just got this freaking brand new engine, 700 horsepower. Now I got another engine that's about 500 horsepower. I know I've had it for years. I know exactly what I get, but this one can really take me there. Now I don't know if it's going to blow out on the road. I don't know if it's going to slow down. I don't know if a piston's going to go out. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's faster. So they put that engine in. So why not keep the other one? You don't have to throw the other one away. If you can afford to keep both, then you keep both. Jimmy's happy with it. Trey's happy with it. The only people that aren't happy with it are the people on the outside. They're like, oh, what if they don't do well? Well, what if they do well? What if they go undefeated in the first 5 games and he's not looking over his shoulder and they're just supporting each other like great teammates? The thing about this 49ers team that nobody's mentioning, it's a team full of great people. That's the part you're not mentioning. Like, these aren't selfish people. You don't hear about a lot of me guys in that locker room. And Jimmy's the last one who would be that way. So they think about team, teammate, then self. So people are like, why isn't Jimmy saying something? Why isn't he getting upset? Why isn't he saying trade me and do all this? Because the philosophy is team, teammate, self. Self is third. When you teach that philosophy and you have that culture, then guys aren't thinking me first. Hey, if this is what's best for the team, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to wait for my opportunity. If my opportunity comes, I'm going to step up and do what I need to do to help my guys get to another Super Bowl.
And Richard, you were a part of that. And again, when you went to San Fran, leaving Seattle, which was another family-focused organization, obviously treated everyone amazingly there. But when you went to San Francisco, it was that same type of organization. It honestly blew me away. I know that you loved Kyle Shanahan's coaching philosophy, similar to Pete Carroll's. The best man plays. It doesn't matter whether you pay D Ford $20 million a year as your defensive end, the best man plays. And that competition that is bred throughout training camp and practice, I know ignites your competitive fire. It doesn't matter if you're fourth on the depth chart or first, you're always playing for your job. And Richard, I mean, here we go again. Trey Lance and Jimmy G are now going to be competing on a day in, day out basis. And we're going to see who provides them the best opportunity to win. It could be worse, Rich.
But see, that's where I disagree, because they're not going to be competing. It's Trey's job. It's Trey's job. And that's what makes the dynamic easier for everybody. It's Trey's job. Cal established that at the beginning of training camp. He established that in the middle of training camp. He reestablished it last week. Like, it's Trey's job. Jimmy's the backup. When you establish that, then there isn't the uncertainty. There isn't the drama. There isn't the whispers. Now, sure, there's human nature. There's human nature with everybody. You can speculate human nature to the end of time. Like, hey, if he misses Kittle on this route, or Debo gets upset, or Brandon Ayuk isn't getting the ball as much. What if that happens and Jimmy's playing? Like, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, blackout drunk. We'd be on the sidewalk, strung out. Like, ain't no ifs. Great teammates. They're going to support the guy as they have been. Things aren't going to go perfect. There will be adversity. There will be ups. There will be downs. They will support each other. Jimmy will support Trey. Trey will support Jimmy. The offense, the weapons they have. You got Trent Williams. You got leadership. You got a foundation on that team that can weather the storm that will be the media more than it will be the team.
The human highlight reel, Trent Williams himself. Richard, let's stay within the division. Things could be worse, right? Your former team, Seattle Seahawks. To me, you're talking about having a somewhat embarrassment of riches with Trey Lance and Jimmy G. And then you fold over to Seattle. What are they dealing with? Who do you honestly like in that QB competition? I know Geno Smith was just named the starter over Drew Lock. I don't think Drew Lock took that very happily. Do you think that situation was handled appropriately? And what do you think of the Seattle Seahawks team right now?
I think they went with safe and predictable. And the guy knew the playbook. Geno did well in the 3 games he had to play last year. Pete is very turnover averse. Turnover averse is what I'll call it, because he does not want to turn the football over. And Geno does not turn the football over very often. You know, he doesn't take the same risks as somebody like Drew Lock, but high risk, high reward. Drew Lock threw some touchdown passes in the preseason, was impressive at times. If you put a highlight reel of his positive plays versus a highlight reel of Geno's positive plays, there would be a disparity. But then on the flip side, you take a highlight reel of the negative plays of both, there will be a disparity. And so I think Pete didn't want to risk that kind of volatility. And Drew Lock didn't have a ton of time to learn the playbook. They were traded right before training camp. It was an unfair situation because he didn't have a true fair shot at winning the starting job. There wasn't enough time. He didn't get enough reps with the ones. He didn't. The one game he was going to start in the preseason, good night, caught COVID. It almost seemed like everything was working against him. So it's just unfortunate set of circumstances. But I don't think they're married to Geno in a way that they will not pull him if they are not doing well early on in the season.
Richard, I want to know what's your forecast for Seattle. Where do you see this season going for them?
My forecast, it's the great unknown. Some part of me tells me that Pete's going to find a way to be competitive and surprise some people and pull off 500. Something else tells me it could be a rough year. It could be a rough year. I just don't see Pete going quietly into the night. They got a good running game. They got 3 really good running backs. They found 2 tackles in the draft, rookies that performed outstanding in the preseason. It's going to be a big problem for them later if they are as good as they've been in the preseason during the regular season, because in the next couple of years, you happen to pay 2 tackles. It's just, oh, my goodness. It's a good problem to have, though. But if they found gold there, then they'll have a chance because you got to be able to protect your quarterback. They have the weapons on the outside and DK and Lockett. They have some weapons at tight end. They have a running game. I mean, Penny was in the last 6 games, I think he ran for 150 5 times. That's something you can lean on. Now, defensively, they're going to have to pull it together. You got Quandre Diggs. You got likely a rookie 6th-round corner starting, which I know a little something about. I'm going to go see the kid later on today and have a conversation with him and try to, impart my little 2 cents of wisdom. But I think they could have a chance. They have rushers. They have a rusher. It's just too many question marks, though, and question marks aren't always a bad thing. But in this league, they're going to have a rough start to the season. They're going to have some tough ball games. I think they got Denver first. If they can somehow pull off that game, there will be a lot of optimism going into the future. If they don't, depending on how they do, if it's a close game, still will be optimism. If it's a blowout, people are going to be ready to mail it in.
Richard, in the season of bold predictions, I got a bold prediction for you. Kenneth Walker III will be an absolute staple in this league for years to come. As soon as he gets over this little hernia injury he's dealing with, I think that they're going to have a 1-2 combo in Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker III. I know a thing or two about Kenneth Walker III. We've talked about this, Rich. He's in the perfect position to go beast mode in that offense. If they can find some level of consistency at the quarterback position, like you said, they got all the weapons in the world. They can have a field day. And if they're running the ball 50% of the time, like Pete Carroll loves to do, who knows what happened? Maybe they do hit 500. And I think that would be an outstanding season for them.
They're not going to be running it 50% of the time. They're going to be running it 60% of the time. They're going to try to run it as much as they can because the best defense you could have is a great run game. Shorten the game for your defense. Hey, there's 2 different defenses when a defense is playing 30 minutes versus a defense playing 40 minutes. A defense playing 25 minutes is much better than a defense playing 35 minutes because they're on the field for less time. They have less opportunities to give up big plays, less opportunities to give up yards. That's what Pete Carroll has always known. And that's why they will run the ball this year as much as they possibly can. Put Geno Smith in a position where he does not have to be Superman and give their defense a chance to make stops. They may leak on defense. They'll get in the red zone and they'll stand up. It's all about staying on top, limit the big plays, and stand up in the red zone. If they can do those things, which are staples in Pete Carroll's philosophy, they'll have a chance to win most of the games they're in. Now, it does come down to talent sometimes. There will be games where they will just be out-talented. There's no coaching. There's nothing you can do when the other team just has better players than you have. But in situations where the talent is equal, they'll have a shot.
Now, Richard, let's just kind of get into some predictions leading into the season. We're going to stay in the NFC West. Who do you think comes out of that division, arguably the best division in football?
San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers come out of that division, in my humble opinion.
Why not the Rams, I think is the glaring question there.
Well, because the Rams are 1-6 against the San Francisco 49ers and dropped interception away from being 0-7.
Fair enough.
In the last 7 meetings. And that's going to be tough to overcome. I mean, the NFC, they won the one that they needed. They won the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl. If you could have any one, I'm sure both teams would have just picked that one. I just don't see them beating them consistently this year, and because San Francisco has arguably gotten better.
Let's then move down south, NFC South. You've got an old team there too in the Tampa Bay Bucks. Talk about that division. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you're going to pick the Bucks to win the division. So let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Talk about that team. What do you see their record being?
I think 13-4 is what they're going to consistently be at for most people. I mean, 12-5 maybe, with the old line situation being kind of in flux. They're losing the center a week, it seems like. That's going to matter. They've had some continuity on the offensive line for the last, at least Tom's time there, and losing Ryan Jensen early on in training camp, and his backups being a little beat up already. It's going to leave some question marks. So if they can find a way to solidify that the inside of that offensive line, then I think they're 13-4. No questions about it. They have enough talent on defense. Shaq Barrett is a monster. You got Devin White. You got guys all over on all 3 levels of the defense. Levante David, Carlton Davis, who just signed a big deal. You got Winfield Jr. You got so many guys who can make plays and make a difference on that defense and offensively. I mean, Quintorris, Julio Jones, you're not going to want for a receiver from that group. You got 3,000-yard receivers. You got Rudolph, who's not Gronk. Nobody's Gronk, but he's a big body that Tom Brady can use in the situations in the same ways that he was able to use Gronk if he can teach him, And in the running game, Lenny Fournette is going to do what he's done for them for the last couple of years, is be incredibly consistent in both aspects of the game.
Anytime you have Quintorris, Julio Jones on your team as your wide receiver 4 or whatever he is on the depth chart,
right?
I mean, God bless. Good luck to those opposing defenses.
Yeah, God bless. Imagine being a rookie corner and you come in and dime and you're like, all right, who I got to guard? And it's Julio Jones. Like, who wants to deal with that? You're like, hey, nobody's fourth corner. And they're like, Julio's lost a step. I don't care. He had 5 steps to lose before he got regular. Like, hey, he was an alien. He is an alien. Like, you talk about it, he could lose 3 steps and still be top 10. Like,
he is the thoroughest of thoroughbred horses, dude. Like, just straight up. I mean, I remember your guys' battles in Seattle. Like, it was just watching. You knew right then and there you were watching in front of you 2 Hall of Famers. Like, it's just, you see him on tape, in person, he's just flat out different. Good luck to that rookie 6th round pick that gets to line up in him and slot.
Right. He's going to have some fun.
Oh, my goodness. Rich, I got to be biased here. We got to move up north. We got to move up to the NFC North.
You're not going
I don't care if you got 1 ass cheek and 3 toes, Rich. I'll beat your ass. The Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell, Motor City Dan Campbell. Do the Detroit Lions have any shot in hell at the NFC North?
What do they call it? A puncher's chance or
a fighter's chance? A puncher's chance.
Yeah, yes. I think it's something like that. I think they got that because they got the offensive weapons. Jared Goff, the very much maligned Jared Goff and the stuff he gets, but he's really, really solid. He's not a world beater, but he can get the job done at a high level. He's above average quarterback in the National Football League, and he has above average weapons right now. And that's quietly as it's kept. They've slowly but surely solidified that offensive line. And I think they have enough playmakers on defense. Aiden Hutchinson, they started to develop a bit of a pass rush there, and a pass rush helps your secondary. Jeff Okudah looked, very cautiously optimistic.
He
looked like he could do the job that he's been asked to do that he has not been able to do in previous years. Looked. You word.
Fair.
Now, if they can just be solid in aspects of the game that seem to be the things that Dan Campbell is harping on, the foundational fundamentals of the game, when you can be great at those things, you will always have a chance to win. And I think during the end of the season last year, they started to mature. They started to gel. They started to come together. They started to have fun. And it seemed to translate into the preseason. Now, doing up downs and bear crawls and stuff at practice, not my style. But the players still seem to love the guy. You look on Hard Knocks, they're laughing. They everybody's positive. There's energy in the building. We'll see how it translates.
Well, Richard, you heard it here first, guys. Richard Sherman predicts a 16-1 season for the Detroit Lions.
Mission.
No,
with a gun to my head, I couldn't do it.
All right. Well, we're going to stay in the division. I know you've got a tremendous amount of respect for Aaron Rodgers, the Detroit Lions' arch nemesis. What does Aaron Rodgers' game look like without Devontae Adams? There is the main question heading into this season.
It looks like it is a question. He's still a Hall of Fame quarterback and the most talented arm I've ever seen in National Football League. I ain't seen it on any field, but it looks different. The chemistry rapport that they had is just different than anything we've seen from any other team in any other combination. And you've seen the inconsistency from the wide receiver group and the frustration that he's had so far in Green Bay. And that's what's concerning.
So, Rich, I mean, obviously, Aaron Rodgers having to overcome the lack of offensive weapons he's had in the past. Do you see them still coming away with this division?
Yeah. I still think, I'm not saying that division is a cakewalk. I mean, Detroit is gonna be a lot better this year.
Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome. Minnesota, always has a chance. They have a ton of talent on offense. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell being there and the West Coast offense and them scheming people up as McVay and Kyle Shanahan have with that offensive system. In Chicago, Justin Fields, the last game looked like a problem, really. I mean, looked like an issue. Can they protect him long enough to be an issue? It's probably going to be an issue. But I'm here all week. I still got Green Bay walking away with it comfortably.
Richard, I respect your analysis, but there are flaws to it, and I dissent from your opinion. I think this is the one year, and this is spoken like a true homer who's been watching all the Hard Knocks and drinking all the Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid. I think the Detroit Lions are going to win the division and host a playoff game for the first time. I think I got to fact check this, for the first time in my lifetime. So that is my bold prediction from that conference. Richard, let's keep it moving on. We got the NFC East next. I just want
to make sure I don't see any drugs in the background over there.
You're more than welcome to invite anyone over and search the house.
I'm thinking about it.
Richard, we're going to move on. We've covered the NFC West, South, and North. Let's move to the NFC East. Just give me a quick who's going to win and why, and we'll keep this train moving.
I don't know who's going to win the NFC East. I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it'll matter. Since the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl that year, the East hasn't been very relevant in terms of the playoffs. Unfortunately, no offense to you guys.
Rubbish is what I would call it.
Hashtag, the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best seasons they've had in a long time, and then get to the playoffs and get Kyle Shanahan, or they will be McVay. Whichever one they run into first. And the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, will deal with the same thing. I just don't see them having enough to get in the playoffs and beat one of those teams. And those are the teams you'll have to beat, or Green Bay, or they'll have to go to Lambeau and beat Green Bay. And I just think those are difficult things to do. And if they do that, I'd be surprised.
Moving on. Irrelevant. NFC East, irrelevant in the grand discussion of things. Let's move over to the AFC. We have a juggernaut of a conference in the AFC West.
Yes.
Russell Wilson goes to the Denver Broncos. Broncos country. Let's ride, baby. What do you see the Broncos doing this year with Russell at the helm?
They'll be solid. It'd be surprising. Again, it'd be surprising to see them win that division. It'd be really surprising with the amount of talent that is in LA with the Chargers and the amount of great coaching and consistency that's in Kansas City. No matter what, Kansas City is going to have a great scheme. They're going to scheme guys open. They'll still have Travis Kelce. They still have Mahomes, who's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the National Football League. So no matter what they do, it'll be tough sledding within their own division. And you're not even going to talk about the schedule that they have when they have to deal with the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams, in the NFC West. It's going to be a tough road for them. If they can come out that's why it's so crazy, that Russell chose that conference, that division to go in that conference for that matter, because to get out of that conference with a championship, you likely have to go through 2 or 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League at any given time. And you really, honestly, might have 2 of them in your division.
Sure.
and so for him to challenge himself like that is admirable, So if they go out there and the Denver Broncos pull off a division championship and win a Super Bowl out of that division, it may be one of the greatest accomplishments anybody has done in a very long time. And it'd be one of the most respected championships and Super Bowls in a very long time. But the likely scenario is Patty Mahomes or Justin Herbert walking away with a division championship and seeing Josh Allen. Yeah. You're going to see Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, or Herbert in the AFC Championship.
So who you got? One team, AFC West. Who is it going to be? The Chiefs or the Chargers?
The Chargers just haven't done it, and I want to pick them. I'm going with the Chargers.
You know what? I'm on board with you, Rich. They've got the talent. Justin Herbert is year 3. It's time, baby. AFC South. Who wins? Why?
AFC South. It seems like the Colts division to lose. The Titans lost A.J. Brown. They still have Derrick Henry and a great running game. The defense could be something, but I think the Colts are going to be really consistent. Matt Ryan is picture perfect for that offense and what they do. DeForest Buckner in that defense is going to still be very tough to deal with. I got the Colts.
The Texans look awesome too, by the way. AFC North.
Championship. The AFC North, that's going to be a very competitive division. It's always gritty and grimy. You can't just write off Lamar Jackson in Baltimore ever. But Cincinnati just, is very confident now. When you get to a Super Bowl, it just changes your team. It changes the way you look at things, changes your confidence level, changes your base confidence level. Like, they're going to be walking into games expecting to win in a way that they weren't last year. And so with that in mind, Cleveland having the quarterback controversy, I don't see them being competitive. And now if they had Deshaun Watson, I'd be a lot higher on them right now, but they don't. So I'm going with Baltimore because of the consistency, and that's what they do.
Richard, you've been in the position of the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Their ceiling is now their floor, right? What they thought they were going to achieve last year is now the expectation of what they, at minimum, will achieve. But how hard is it to come back the season after just missing out on the Super Bowl? You've been there before. You've won it. You've lost it in heartbreaking fashion. How hard is it to regroup and rally?
It depends, because when we felt like we should have won the Super Bowl, and it was 2012, we didn't make the Super Bowl. We felt like we should have won it that year. We came back and won it the next year because the energy and the focus was there. It was totally different. It was totally, you're pissed off and you're not taking no for an answer. There's no allowing yourself to be distractions. You make different kind of sacrifices because you tasted it, and you can't get the taste out of your mouth. And you're going to do whatever's necessary to get there again. And I think that's what the mentality they're coming with. And if they can keep Joe Burrow upright and block for him and protect it, what Jamar Chase did last year is repeatable. He wasn't getting lucky and having some kind of tip catches, miraculous. He was taking slants 70 yards. He was taking curl routes 80 yards. He was getting the yards the hard way like Anquan and Larry Fitzgerald used to. And so it's repeatable. And I think they're going to have a great chance to be very competitive for the AFC Championship again. I just feel like Baltimore, they got really injured last year. They got beat up. They lost a lot of people to ACLs, and they won't this year. They won't have that kind of tragedy, and they'll be right in the mix.
Finally, the AFC East. Is this the year of the Miami Dolphins?
No, it's not. Not with Josh Allen in the division. No, it's not. And I'm going to let you know something. It ain't a lot to do in Buffalo, but what there is to do in Buffalo is coming out of the AFC. And Buffalo with Josh Allen and Diggs, and like getting Von Miller was like, it's hard to describe. It's kind of like what the Rams did. They didn't need him. It's an embarrassment of riches, and they got him. They were a championship roster who likely would have been in the Super Bowl had their overtime rules been a little different.
Right.
But they aren't, and they weren't. But I think that they'll come out of the AFC. I got them in the Super Bowl with the San Francisco 49ers. I know that's where we're going next. San Francisco 49ers, Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl, and I got San Francisco winning it. Kyle Shanahan finally getting his Super Bowl that he's been needing. And send me my ring.
That would be well deserved, Rich. So that leads us to player predictions, man. Back on MVP talk, Rich. I already told you I'm going with my boy. Actually, not my boy. I don't even know him, but a guy who I think from Buffalo who is going to carry that team finally to a Super Bowl, potentially to a win. Jim Kelly status. We're going
Don't
Josh
be Jim
Allen.
Kelly status. Don't be Jim Kelly status. Don't take him to 4 Super Bowls and
take
go
him
home
a
with
little
nothing.
bit further than Jim Kelly. No, I think it's Josh Allen's time, Rich. I mean, come on. Like, he probably should have won it last year. Let's be real with ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, it is.
Tom Brady should have won it. He's 50, and he threw 50 touchdowns.
The Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, by the way, not your favorite Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I was wondering if you were going to go there, but Justin Herbert is the guy. He's setting records every single year for the youngest to do this, the youngest to throw this many yards, the youngest to throw this many touchdowns. And you got to remember, his first start came because of tragedy to Tyrod Taylor, an unexpected injury at time. He wasn't even practicing to be the starter. Now he's the undisputed guy. And he's going to be the undisputed guy in the National Football League, the MVP after this season. He has all the weapons, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Like, he's here to do it this year in LA.
Gunslinger, Rich. Gunslinger. I love Justin Herbert. I love the call. Absolutely love the call. You've already spoken about it on Thursday Night Football. Nicholas, I forgot his middle name, Bosa, is your defensive player of the year. Why?
Why? Because he's unstoppable. He is unstoppable. And what you need to do is double him and chip him. What you cannot do is double him and chip him, because there are too many other people that will destroy your offensive line. Eric Armstead being the main culprit, Javon Kinlaw, Drake Jackson being the new guy. They have a rotation the rotation of devastation. It's going to be tough to deal with. And so you're not going to be able to double Bosa, and all you're going to do is be able to watch your quarterback get hit by him over and over. And not to say that, hey, in the run game, he'll probably have 2-3 TFLs a game. Like, I just can't imagine him not getting it unless, well, I mean, I can, because he didn't get a vote for comeback player of the year last year, and he had 15 and a half sacks coming off of ACL. And I mean, good night. Like,
Richard, with you being a former 49er and a former teammate of Nick Bosa, picking them to win the Super Bowl and him to win the Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of people would say you're a little bit biased, but I wouldn't be one of them. I mean, I think you're spot on. I think it's the 49ers year. I think this Nick Bosa, if he can stay healthy, he's got everything in that pedigree, in that family to win a Defensive Player of the Year. So let's see what happens. But Joey Bosa could win it too. So who knows? We got one or the other. I'll take one of the Bosas.
It's going to be one of the Bosas or what? You know what I mean? It's going to be hard to anybody else. I mean, Aaron Donald could always do it.
Fair. Offensive Player of the Year.
Offensive Player of the Year. Jeez Louise. It's always, what sucks about that is I wish they take the quarterbacks out of it, but they don't. They don't. It's going to be a quarterback. It's going to be a quarterback. I think this is Justin Herbert's time to shine. I think he has a season that finally puts him amongst the elites. Obviously, his numbers and his stats say that, but I think him playing down the stretch and winning crucial ball games is going to really put it over the top. Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Herbert.
I would go Jared Goff, but I feel like a lot of people are picking him, so I have to go a different direction. I'm going to go Josh Allen for obvious reasons. Rock star, probably putting people through tables. They're going to be winning a hell of a lot of games up in Buffalo. Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year.
Is it my boy Dan Campbell's time to shine? Is it Robert Saleh's time to shine? Or is it someone emerging from the depths? Or what are we looking at here, Rich?
Let's see. I mean, you got the guys that you always expect to get it. You know, Andy Reid will always be in it. That's tough. That's tough. We'll come back to that one. You'll come back to that one, because I need to think about that one a little deeper. Because in Tampa, I don't think they'll give it to him, even if Tom wins the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they'll give the Coach of the Year to Todd Bowles, because they'll be like, hey, of course they did. You know, he only did it 7 times before, you know, and it's situations like that where it's
they'd probably end up naming Tom Brady the Coach of the Year at that point, Rich.
Right.
Okay. We'll save that one for a rainy day. How about comeback Player of the Year? Is this something that Baker Mayfield might have his eyes on? Or are we just avoiding him? I know you love Baker.
I mean, he could. That's what they always give it to quarterbacks. They always give the awards to quarterbacks because it's like no matter what, the quarterback. So
they don't care about the cornerback that's coming off an Achilles tear and then just comes and helps lead a team to a Super Bowl. I mean, they don't give a rat's ass about guys like that.
Right, J.C. Horn. I'm going with J.C. Horn. God dang it, on the same team. J.C. Horn.
Okay.
Should have got to play last year. Will come back and have the season he should have had last year, which will be fantastic. J.C. Horn.
Okay, Rich.
And you know what? I'm going to give you a pick for Coach of the Year. Brandon Staley, because we're going to keep the Chargers in the mix. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They'll make the playoffs, likely make an AFC championship. That'll earn him a Coach of the Year.
I'm going to go with Kyle Shanahan, and my dark horse is Dan Campbell. I like your pick of Brandon Staley, though, Rich. Richard, okay. We've called out the obvious ones. Let's move a little bit more to the bold predictions category of things. Which dark horses do you like to, rise to the top to be potential stars in this league that no one's really thinking about right now? I'm going to throw a name at you, and I want you to know this is my pick, Rich. Tony Pollard.
Why would you even bring up Tony Pollard? Why would you bring him up?
Because it's called a bold prediction.
That's not bold. That's crazy. The owner of the team said we only go as Ezekiel Elliott goes, who is in front of Tony Pollard. So he will not, unless something crazy happens to Zeke, Tony Pollard will only be a secondary thought in the owner's mind. Come on now,
I don't even believe the owner, Rich. Tony Pollard is my choice for breakout player of the year.
I don't know. Devontae Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles, breakout player of the year.
Respect. Finally, it's fantasy football draft season. If you walk around town, you're going to see a bunch of people having drafts at local bars. You might, for me, I just have my Zoom annual draft with all of my buddies. Rich, let's forget the quarterbacks. Let's look at the running backs and wide receiver positions. Who's kind of some of your dark horse guys that aren't necessarily at the top of the list that you think are due for breakout seasons?
Well, Brandon Ayuk, he isn't at the top of anybody's list. And with everything you're hearing out of camp, he's due for a breakout season. We'll see what Michael Thomas has. I think the expectations are very high for him. I think Quintorris Julio-Jones is a sleeper that, guys can get late in their fantasy drafts. I think Keenan Allen is always underrated. Him and Mike Williams down there in L.A. are always underrated. Allen Robinson, who never gets credit, is in a situation where Cooper Kupp will be getting doubled. Cooper Kupp had 244 targets last year. I think that'll spread a little bit more evenly this year with Allen Robinson being there.
All right, Rich. Well, we've had a good first show. I think we can both agree with that. You know what I mean?
Some of your picks in Detroit, they're 16-1. I don't know. That might make our show the ratings plummet.
Dude, at the end of the day, it's been real. It's been fun. It's a shame it hasn't been real fun. But, Rich, we're going to have an opportunity to make it real fun in the future. Twice a week, the Richard Sherman Podcast. Do you want to sign us off?
Well, thank you very much, Mitchell, for joining me as always. It's been fantastic. Your Detroit homerism is
awesome.
That wasn't the word I was looking for. It's sad. I'm just kidding. But thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you join us every week, twice a week this season. We're trying to give you more content. We'll be Sunday before the Sunday night game. We'll be trying to get this content out to you every week. We'll have a new guest, starting with George Kittle, of course, but you might have some Hall of Famers on the docket. We'll let you know later. Join us next week. Can't wait to see you.